Hi there everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Prestige Liquids. My name is Andrew, and of course, as always, it is fantastic to have you here with me again on another whiskey review video. Now today I am going to be reviewing a whiskey from one of my favorite Aussie distilleries. This is one of the more recent releases from Craftworks Distillery. This particular release is called Son of a Beast. That's this one here. I believe it is called Son of a Beast because the cask that was used for this was actually the original cask that was used for one of Crafty's first releases called Black Soul Beast. So for this release, he has used a second fill cask. I'll just quickly read some information off the back label of this because it pretty much has like everything that I need to say about it. So in terms of the cask, this is the third release from the I Am series. I have released the first one, which is like I Am, and then I Am 2. So when I finish this review, I will put this into my Craftworks playlist, which I will put a link in the description box down below, so that way you can see all the other Craftworks whiskies that I have reviewed. So this is the third release from the I Am series. We take it in another direction as we explore the concepts of a single cask at natural cask strength that was matured in a second fill cask, which was the Black Soul Beast cask. This Peter Van Gent vintage port cask from the local Mudgee region. The cask was first filled in October 2016 and refilled on the 21st of November 2018. For the barley, they're using 100% New South Wales Riverina grown single origin malted barley. This is the same mash bill that has been used for the rest of the I Am series, using a base of roasted malts, including our bespoke malted crafty special roast crafted for us by our partners of choice, Voyager Craft Malts. The water used is locally sourced soft spring water from Wild Wolgan, produced a wonderful mouthfeel of the New South Wales single malt whiskey. This expression has been released at 66.7% ABV. Son of a Beast is a powerful, complex beast of an expression, yet refined in nature due to the use of second fill cask. It demonstrates how Craftworks Distillery is refining its house style of I Am. Now, as I just mentioned, this has been released at 66.7% ABV, therefore making it the strongest whiskey that I have tried so far. So that's enough talk. Time to pour and get started on this review. So here we go. On the nose, let's see what we get. Cheers. Okay, so the nose is very vibrant. I mean, considering the strength of this, it is a bit spirit forward, but you expect that from this kind of strength. As the alcohol notes start to change, the cask influence starts to come in a lot more, and you do notice that nice richness of the port cask. So instantly you're getting all these stewed fruits, things like prunes, figs, dates, raisins. It has quite a sweet, rich nose. Also things like honey, caramel, vanilla, black pepper. In general, Crafty likes to use heavy char on his casks, so I am getting quite a bit of a smoky, burnt influence coming in. It's definitely more of a burnt wood note, but then you also do get that influence of the roasted malts coming in as well. It has a bit of like a stout beer influence, so you start to get that malty, dark chocolate note, a little bit salty, a bit earthy. There's also a very subtle eucalyptus note coming in, but again, I could spend probably an hour nosing this thing, especially as you kind of allow that alcohol to evaporate out and you start to get more out of this. But I'm not going to go taking up too much time with that. Time to move on to the palate. So cheers. Wow. It is, as the label says, it is a beast. Now, the mouthfeel that you get from this is incredible. It's I do apologize for the noise at the moment. The neighbor is currently mowing their lawn. That's nothing I can do about that at the moment. So yeah, you take that first sip and your mouth just instantly dehydrates. Simultaneously, it then starts watering and you get this thick syrupy texture in the whiskey. The mouthfeel it's absolutely incredible. Now, because of the strength, yes, that first sip is going to be very intense. You're going to feel that punch. So let's see how it progresses. Okay, so now you're acclimated to the spirit. One thing that I am constantly amazed at with Crafty's whiskeys is that he's constantly releasing these high ABV whiskeys. And in this particular whiskey is strong enough to, like, it will knock out a rhino. But he somehow manages to make them so palatable that you do not feel like you are drinking a whiskey of that strength, especially once you've acclimated to it and you're making your way through it. Initially, the palate is very oaky. You're definitely going to get that woody influence. So initially, this is very oaky, very woody. But as those woody oaky notes start to change, it then forms into, you will notice more of that port cask influence. So again, it's very similar notes to what I had gotten on the nose in terms of the stewed fruits, though you will get a lot more vanilla and caramel. That vanilla is actually quite buttery, very creamy as well. The other part of this that I'm really enjoying is more of like that stout beer influence, and I'm assuming that comes from the roasted malts. You get this nice like toasty malt mixed in, so like with a combination of dark chocolate, rum raisin. Just the overall balance of this is incredible, and I think what makes it even more impressive is when you consider the actual strength of this. In all rights, one sip of this should knock you out. You should be falling off your seat, but it does not have that feel. When you drink this, it feels a lot more, say, like a lower 50% whiskey. I do not feel like I am drinking a 66.7% ABV whiskey. And again, that's, as I mentioned before, that is one thing that just impresses me so much about Craftworks releases, is that you can have such high strength whiskeys, but they never feel like you are drinking something that strong, which is probably dangerous to a certain degree. You can very easily like lose track, I suppose, of how much you may be having. So be careful. Pace yourself out when you're having a crafty whiskey. Let's say, moving along to the finish. Again, very similar to the palate, so I don't have too much more to add, with the exception of it being more smoky, more earthy. I am noticing more of the barrel char on the finish, though you do have that balance throughout the whole experience of the whiskey, but I feel that it is more prominent on the nose and on the finish. I love the way that the chocolate notes carry through from beginning to end. I think that's probably one of my favorite features of this, is just this nice malty chocolate. Obviously then with that combination of like the stewed fruits, which you typically get from a port cask whiskey. So one other thing that I wanted to do as part of this review was to share my notes of this whiskey, with having it being watered down a little bit. Now, I felt that to do this in one video would make it a bit too long, so I did a little bit of a tasting of this beforehand, so I've got my notes written down. So as a rough guide, I poured about, again, this isn't an exact measurement, but I poured roughly 15 mils of the whiskey and added about half a teaspoon of bottled spring water. I let it sit for about 10 minutes, and when I came back to it, my notes are as follows. So on the nose, it was a lot softer. You noticed more of the stewed fruits. Again, things like your figs, prunes, grapes, milk chocolate. Again, that rum raisin essence to it as well. I also picked out like black currants. It was also the malt itself stood out a little bit more as well. I noticed that it was a bit dustier, and overall the malty flavor was a bit stronger, with water added off the nose. Down to the palate, those oaky woody notes weren't as intense at first. Initially you first notice like these rich tawny port notes. So again, stewed fruits, very similar to the palate, very similar to the nose. Although the barrel char was a bit more accented, it was a bit more smoky, a little saltier, and it had more earthy notes coming into it as well. I also noticed more of like that stout beer roasted malt essence coming in as well. So adding water to this is definitely going to make it a more friendlier, much more approachable, and it will give you a slightly different dynamic to the actual cask strength version of this. So if you do have a bottle, or if you've been given a sample, I would definitely recommend playing around with it. You will get some you will get a different experience from it as well. Well, I think I'm going to call it there. If you've been enjoying this content so far, please make sure you hit the bell notification and the subscription button so that you can stay up to date with all future content. My name is Andrew, and I'll see you all again on the next video. KIPPIS. Since you've made it this far into the video, why not go ahead and check out some of these other reviews that I have done. I'll see you all again next time. Bye bye.